right, hey everybody. Today I wanted to talk about East vs. West 16 since it's going to be coming up here real quick. Lots of really exciting matches on here. I'm not going to go over every match because I'm definitely not an expert on all the competitors in this lineup. So I just want to talk about the ones that are kind of exciting for me and the ones that I'm thinking about and most excited to watch. So let's get right into it. Now, the first one that's of interest to me is Frank Lamparelli versus Serhii Kalinichenko. Hopefully I get his name somewhat right. I like this match because I think that Frank is a representation of like that true kind of elite level. And I think that he's just like a crazy like he's the arm wrestler where you look at the way he moves and you wish that you could arm wrestle the way he does or move the way he does because it's so like just beautiful, perfect, just textbook top roll. It's almost like John Brazang's classic top roll where it just looks so beautiful and smooth, and he's definitely just a master of that. And it'll be interesting to see if Serhii can do anything with him. I think that he might not quite be at that level. I know he's kind of been bouncing around in weight classes and trying to figure out where he's best suited. So I don't really know how much that's affected his training. I can imagine that he's probably stronger than he has been in the past. And he's definitely surprised a lot of people before. I think that where the issue in this match going to be is that Frank's hand control is going to be too much. And I think Frank's just going to take his hand and just be in full control. I don't know if Kalinichenko has or is going to be willing to fight like without his hand super hard. Something tells me he is. I know he's a person who's injured himself on the table, I think twice. So he's not afraid to fully commit. But who knows if that's, in your head at all about, how hard you want to commit to that flop or how hard you want to commit to that press, especially when the way that Frank arm wrestles. He's probably going to have you outside your shoulder or close. Personally for me, I'm going to have to give this match completely to Frank. I don't think that Kalinichenko is going to win a single round personally. So I'll go 3-0 for sure. The next interesting one to me is interesting for reasons you might not expect, but it's going to be Brad Grundy and Bacho. Bacho is super infamous because of his last name. He came up really quick. I believe he's 20 now. I think he was 19 when he faced Renow. This should be a pretty interesting match to see where his level's gotten to. He's another one of those guys that he doesn't have what appears to be the biggest frame, but his bone structure, like his the size of his wrist and his hands, is pretty insane. Like even though he lost to Renow, it just looked like a baseball glove. And I know Renow has kind of a small hand for his weight class, but it always looks funny when someone's hand just completely disappears in another person's, and that's definitely an area that Bacho is gifted in, and he's going to have the advantage. But the reason this match is interesting to me is because I thought Brad Grundy retired. I didn't think he was out. Like I've seen him in some YouTube videos practice pulling with people. But I thought that I could have swore I remember seeing a video about him retiring from competition. So I guess that's not the case. So I haven't really been following him ever since I saw that announcement. So I don't know where his level is. I don't know what kind of improvements he may have made or may not. But if I have to base it off of his last performances, I would say that he is at a surprisingly high level. I think he was one of the people in North America that was, kind of ready to take things to a new level, or break into those top ranks, because the North American arm wrestling rankings really, like, there's been little tiny movements here and there, but it's been the same names forever. There hasn't been really every up and coming American talent has completely disappointed, and just like lost their steam. Like you have like your Chance Shaws where it's just like all the potential in the world, but I think maybe some of his greater interests lie elsewhere. And he doesn't probably have either the ability or the desire to put all his time into arm wrestling and really exploit his potential. And then, you have like Corey West, who's just like, he has all the power in the world. He just needs to arm wrestle more. He could be right up there, but it just hasn't happened yet. Brad was one of those people who you saw and you knew that he seemed hungry, which is why I was really surprised about the retirement video. He really just hasn't had that time to make the name that he probably deserved to have, because his last couple performances were really, really surprisingly good. I don't think people were expecting his level to go up as fast as it did. So I think this match, for that reason, is more interesting to me in terms of actually arm wrestling. In my head, I feel like Brad, man, I want to say that he's going to, the way that he sets up, I feel like, I just feel like he might be a little bit too much for Bacho. Now again, this guy has crazy genetics, so he could have just come up to a whole nother level, since he faced Renaud, but I think Brad Grundy's just going to be a tier higher. I do think Bacho could definitely get a win. So I'm going to have it as 3-1 for Brad. But if Brad's gotten better from his last professional competitions, then I think he's just going to be just a little bit too strong for Bacho. The next match I like, being one of the very few people who take left-handed arm wrestling seriously, because I am left-handed. Alex Kurdecha versus Dadikyan. Man. Alex, Alex is one of those people that you can't help but get really excited for, because he's just such a, Viking, Titan, giant. But he's another one of those guys who kind of just always ends up never living up to expectation. So I don't know. Like, people do say his left is terrifying and on a completely different level than his right. And I hope that is the case. Because David, he arm wrestled pretty much equally to Morozov on the left. They were just deadlocked, and and it very easily could have went. Morozov ended up getting the win, but it very easily could have gone to David. It was that close, especially in the early rounds. I think Dadikyan's explosive power is really hard to deal. It's almost like a Dave Chafee type, situation where it's like he just overwhelms you. And those first one or two rounds, it's just like he can just smash anybody, Alex is so much bigger though. I think that I think the weight difference might be over 100 pounds or 45 kilos or more. in a weight difference here. And, Morozov's a big guy too, but it was only like a 30-pound weight difference. So it'll be really interesting to see where he matches up with like a true Giants, frame, levers, and hand. Now he does train with Denis Saplinkov, who obviously has like one of the freakiest hands of all time. So I know he's probably no stranger, doesn't feel uncomfortable gripping anybody's hand, because people say his hand is even more difficult to grip than Levon's hand. I don't necessarily think that Alex will have an advantage there. I just think there might be too much top end. But people have been saying that a lot about Alex, and he just, he hasn't got the wins that people expected. Hopefully his left hand isn't all hype, because the way that people talk, they say that his left is unbeatable, maybe only Vitalii can challenge him on the left. But we'll have to see there. But that's definitely interesting, because I love left-handed arm wrestling as a left-handed guy. Let's see. Oh yeah. So Fia versus Malin. This is, they're not to say that they both haven't been around for a long time, but I think Malin's just been, dominant for so long, like an OG of the sport. And Fia has really been making a name. Like, again, she's been around for quite a while, and winning. But I feel like she's just been on the big stage the last couple of years, really making a name for herself. So she kind of represents that next generation of, female superstar coming up. And, on paper, all the cards are stacked in Malin's favor. I don't think it's, I think most people expect her to 3-0 Fia. And now I know I think they're training partners. We know they're from the same nation. I don't know how much they directly train or compete together. So I don't know if they're coming in kind of already knowing what to expect or not. But I really, really hope, and Fia is so good and so technical, and she just finds ways to get in and get her leverage. So I really hope that she can pull off the win. I think that she probably has the edge in endurance too. So if she finds like a sticking point, I think this could get really interesting, really fast. Because she's at a level where I don't think she's going to be outclassed completely by anyone, maybe except for your, Barboras or your Gabbies, who are just going to have a level of power that she probably hasn't really felt in a live match before. So, this is good. I think this is going to be a really good match. And I think it's going to be a really fun match, just because, they are, they have such a camaraderie or a friendship. So I think it'll be interesting to see. One of the most interesting cards on the match, and not even because it's left-handed, but Daniel Procopciuc versus Oleg Zhokh. Man, I love both of these arm wrestlers. Oleg is just a cool dude. He always just seems super happy to be there, and just always, very positive. Great dude to watch. And of course he has the mutant arm, the world's freakiest arm. It's like Alex Kurdecha's arm on a, 180-pound dude. It's crazy. But Daniel is one of the smartest arm wrestlers. He applies a lot of, theory craft, and he thinks a lot about what he's going to do or how he's going to approach things from an efficiency and a lever standpoint. So I know he's going to come in with a game plan specifically to try to neutralize, and we all know where he's going to go. He's going to, grip low and just go, supinate hard and go sideways. But where he chooses to grip, where he tries to get his wrist bone in. I think that's going to be the really curious part. If he tries to go in more up closer to the wrist bone, like into the hand area, or if he's going to try to go even lower, and really use his short levers to his advantage. Because having short levers, like Sasha or Daniel, can also be a big advantage because your power curve is set low. Like it's almost like people kind of have to dad move you to beat you, and he's one of those guys who just really knows how to wedge himself in there and just outlast anyone. I think Oleg is just going to have, because like you've seen him go against, the best, regardless of weight. And his rotation is crazy. I just think he's going to have too much top end power. And I think the first round is going to be interesting. But this is another one we're going to have to go 3-1, where I think, Daniel's really smart and he might be able to get like a later round win. But I think Oleg is just going to have enough top end power, hand control. I think he'll be in positions where he's always comfortable. So I think he's going to end up getting the win there. Oleg Petrenko versus Betkili. These are two kind of like up and coming stars, younger guys in the sport. Really, really both very smart arm wrestlers, extremely, extremely technical. I would have to probably give the edge to Betkili on the technical side, because he's one of those guys where you think he's completely out, like he'll just get completely steamrolled over and you'll think, okay, well, he's not even in this match. But he finds a way to adjust and just get right in there and end up pulling off the win. And you think that there's just not even any chance based off his first round performance. But he's just one of those really, really, truly great technical arm wrestlers. And Oleg is very smart in terms of he really knows. I think he studies the rule set. And I think he really knows when to fight and when to maybe conserve energy for another round and try again. He's kind of a master of the professional foul, if you will, where that's where you kind of foul on purpose in order to restart the match. And a lot of people really hate that. Again, I'm one of the people who, I don't like it, but it's a part of the game. It's when you're one of these guys here up at the top and you're winning, real decent money prize pools and, you're just a top level athlete, just getting that win is the important thing. And he knows how to get those wins. His last, he just had a recent matchup with Devon. And obviously Devon was just way too much for him. But I don't think that takes away at all from his legacy or what he's done, because against the typical type of people you see in his weight class, he's usually just a standout athlete. So strength wise, obviously, I think Oleg is going to have the advantage, and I think they might be very even in the hand actually. So I don't necessarily think anyone's going to have a advantage in hand strength. But what I do think is Betkili is better at getting what he wants in the setup. And I think he's better. Like I said, I think I give him the edge in technicality, like making those little adjustments. So I think this is going to be a very close match. And I think this is going to be probably in the running for match of the night. Or at least the longest match, because I could see them just fighting and fighting and fighting, and lots of setups, lots of restarts, lots of. I think there might be at least one long war on the table, but I kind of think once one or the other figures the other one out, they might just have that lane where they can just kind of get through quickly. But I will say it'll be a 3-2. I think they'll go back and forth, and just kind of whoever ends up getting that first win might have the advantage, to be the first one to third. But I think if you extended this, out over 7 or 10 or however many rounds, it would just go back and forth and back and forth. So this might be the most technical match of the night for sure. Oh man, one of my favorite arm wrestlers, Todd Hutchings, going against Irakli again. The first time they faced each other was, I believe, 3 years ago now, and Irakli has just come up so much since then. Um, he's really just been on a tear. He's really found a good spot in the 95 kilo class instead of the 100 kilo class. And he looks to be very, very dominant and stronger than ever. It's almost unbelievable. The numbers, the gym training numbers he lifts and moves for his weight. It's like, he blows super heavyweights, elite super heavyweights out of the water with his lifts. Like, it's just absolutely insane. His back pressure is probably the best. In the class for sure. There's probably no one who's even close. Todd Hutchings is no slouch to back pressure. His main method of fighting top rollers, if you follow along with his videos, is that pronated back pressure and side pressure. It's just, oh man, it's so hard because, Todd, despite his age, seems to just still be getting stronger and still be getting better. And, according to his most recent videos, he's still hitting PRs, he's making PRs in different areas. And it's so hard. And as obviously a North American, I always am going to root for North Americans. But Irakli's scary. Irakli's scary. I do have faith in Todd. Todd's another one of those guys, very analytical, and he always comes into every match with a very specific game plan. Now, we've seen that game plan doesn't necessarily always go to plan, but he has really good info on Irakli because he's felt Irakli's hand before, and Irakli does the exact same thing. He just does it. He's just stronger and faster and just does it harder, basically. So it'll be very interesting because Todd's gotten so good at just neutralizing those top rollers and just stopping them. His win against Ongerbayev, crazy. So that's for that reason, because of the Ongerbayev match. I definitely want to give it to Todd because I feel for sure that Todd's better since then. And I know Irakli is too, but I don't think Irakli will give him the same problems. So this is another one where I think it'll be 3-2. But I think Todd's endurance is going to win out because he'll just never stop. He just doesn't stop. You have to overwhelm him. You have to. Let's see. Okay. Vitalii versus Morozov. Lots of left-handed matches in this East versus West, so super exciting for me. Man, this is so interesting to me. And it's really telling, I feel like, to where the level is and like what the deltas are between different people, because Morozov is like, he's just such an impressive puller, very young guy, very powerful, insane endurance. I would say that he wins most of his matches off of endurance, and just outlasting, because he's another one of those guys where it could look like he's kind of out of the match, or he I feel like he often loses round one, but he just doesn't seem to fade. He doesn't seem to get tired. He just stays just as strong as he was in round one, and then he just ends up overwhelming people. And his defensive hook is one of the best in the world, for sure, but the problem is he's going against Vitalii, who I think is pretty much universally considered unhookable. And I don't think that Artyom has the same defensive sticking power or stopping power with an outside move as he does on the inside, like a defensive top roll. because I don't see, just based off the way that, Morozov arm wrestles, um, he's like, I see him as a defensive arm wrestler, and Vitalii a very offensive arm wrestler. And I don't, if he can't sink that hook and get into that defensive, really closed off tight position that he can just hold, it seems like he can just hold anyone there, until they fade. Man, I don't see him sinking the hook and, or holding him in the, with an outside move. So where I think Artyom's going to have to go is into a press, and Artyom can definitely press. I would definitely say it's probably his C move. Like, you have your A move, your B move, and then it's like his backup of his backup. So I don't think it's his best move, but it definitely wasn't Dave Chafee's best move. And Dave Chafee was able to press through, and so I think, unless Vitalii has found a way to deal with the press, or he's just too overwhelming and he just knocks Artyom too far over to the B side with his top roll, then I think Artyom, this is another one I think is 3-2, but I think Vitalii might win the first 2 rounds, then Artyom comes back and just presses through 3 times in a row. So I'm going to have to give it to, I want to say Vitalii is probably can beat more people than maybe Artyom has the potential of beating. I'm not exactly sure how I want to put this, or I think that maybe he's the better arm wrestler, but Artyom, he's called the Terminator. He just doesn't give up. He just keeps going and he doesn't stop. And I think maybe first 2 rounds to Vitalii, and then Artyom just presses through. So unless he misses like the go or something, I'm going to go ahead and call the underdog win here and say that Artyom's going to take the win. Maybe I should go see if there's any more arm bet slots open for him, because the more I think about it, I think he might be able to pull it off, which would be crazy, because most people think that Vitalii is the true best left arm in the world. So the next 2 matches, I'm actually a little bit disappointed that the Devon versus Genadi match is actually the main event of the night. I think Michael Todd versus Ermes definitely deserves to be the main event. That is the most consequential match in arm wrestling right now, by far, because it determines who fights Levon next. But see, this is also where I kind of hate this match, because I think no matter the outcome of the match, both guys should get their shot at Levon, because one, Michael earned his shot at Levon, but Levon couldn't compete. His organization at the time didn't allow him to. And even if Ermes beats Michael Todd, I think Michael Todd actually has just as much, if not maybe the best chance in the world at beating Levon, because I think defensively, we have to assume that he's better than Ermes. Now Ermes can come in and just blast. Maybe he just blasts through Michael Todd, and then that'll put all this to rest. I just don't see that happening. Monster Michael Todd, I might be a little biased. He's my favorite. So these guys are both my favorite arm wrestlers. So Ermes is like my favorite arm wrestler from a pure arm wrestling, just like the way he, he's the perfect arm wrestler, his whole approach to training, the way he arm wrestles itself, his versatility, like everything. He's just that arm wrestler you wish you could be. So he's my favorite in that standpoint, but like my favorite personality in arm wrestling and the person that like motivates me the most, definitely Michael Todd. So maybe I'm a little bit biased, but I think Michael Todd is just at a crazy level. I think everything being healed up from his injury, and his new dedication to just doing the work and training, it's in crazy the amount of progress. He just PRs and PRs and PRs and PRs. And when you're already at elite level at something, to keep hitting PRs like that is crazy. Like some people can go, again, like referencing the Todd Hutchings video, like some lists he hasn't PR'd in 2, 3, 4 years. or, after 4 years of training, he might have had like a 2.5 pound PR. And, Michael Todd's just in here just lifting more weight every week, sometimes twice a week. It's crazy. So yeah, I mean, this is a tough match for me to call because, Ermes is so smart and he's so dedicated to the training where, even if he's doing the same move, like he will tailor his top roll specifically to fight whoever it is. Like we've already seen that for the last Michael Todd match, he created a custom implement just to simulate what it's like pulling against his King's move. So I know he's coming in prepared. And there was a lot of talks. This is and I know people are a little iffy and sore about this, but there's a lot of talks that Devon was teaching Ermes how to beat Michael, or training him up on the King's move and how to counter it. But Michael's King's move is different than anyone else's, and definitely different than Devon's King move. So how much he can impart into Ermes is questionable. And I also think that if we've seen anything from the Larry Wheels and Brian Shaw stuff, I think that we know that Devon's just, while definitely in the talks for greatest of all time, for different reasons in the sport, like his legacy is crazy. He's not the best teacher. So because I think his way of thinking is just very unique. And I think he has a hard time translating his thoughts over to most people. But yeah, this match is just so hard to call. So hard to call. My heart has it with Michael Todd. And I honestly think whoever wins the first round is going to be 3-0. In one way or the other. So I think if Ermes wins round one, I think he'll 3-0 Michael Todd, and I think if Michael Todd wins round one, he'll 3-0 Ermes. I think the first round matters a lot for both of these guys. Now the only way I don't see that being a problem is if the first round is a typical Michael Todd, long drawn out, like multi-minute war, and because he's not going to give up. We know that he's going to break before he gives up. Everything in his body, he will put it all on the table to get the win. And so yeah, if the first round is a truly taxing, grueling war, and Ermes gets the win, then I can see Michael Todd coming back. But I really, man, I don't know why, but for some reason I just have this idea that it's going to be a 3-0. And I'm going to give it to Michael Todd. I just think he's at a crazy level right now, but both guys have earned their shot. No one's done to Levon what Ermes has done. No one. Damn near, took Levon out. Like Levon was unable to compete. Not just like a forfeiture, like he couldn't get on that table. Like his life would have been in risk if he got back on that table. And I can't help but think Michael Todd would make that situation even worse. So yeah, I think they've both earned their shot against Levon, and I hope they both, regardless of the outcome, get to pull Levon, because I think they both have chances of winning, of beating him. Devon versus Genadi now. I don't think this match is worthy of the main event. For one, it's a revenge match or a grudge match or whatever. Genadi got the win last time because he arm wrestled to win, and Devon lost, what most people would say, because he was trying to showboat in the first couple rounds, which, I mean, it's kind of his fault if he truly believes he would have won if he wasn't, showboating as much. Then he's probably going to come in and win, because I'll tell you what, the Genadi that we saw versus Michael Todd recently, that was not a prime Genadi. You could tell in his physique, he looked very soft. And he didn't look, I feel like it felt like it was obvious that he was not at his best. And it hasn't been that long. So I'm willing to bet he's still not at his best. So yeah, I think Devon's just going to come in, and as long as he doesn't go too far on the theatrics, I think he'll, win pretty convincingly 3-0. Because I just don't think Genadi's back. I don't think he's fully healed. I don't think he's fully recovered. Well, he might be fully healed, but his strength isn't back, I should say. And so I think it was way too, I know he felt like he probably didn't want to be out of the limelight for too long. But I think it was too soon for him to come back. He should have waited. Because I don't think he's going to, yeah. Even if he's like 5% better than he was against Michael, I don't think he's gonna be able to do anything with Devon, especially because apparently Devon's coming in north of 300 pounds. I think it could be bad. I think it could just be Devon holding him in a hook, and just being in absolute control. And if he wins easily that first round, I think that showboating can come out. And honestly, I kind of hate the level he kind of takes it to lately. I think it's too much, and I don't like, it's kind of cringy for me, and I don't like showing it to people, but hopefully it doesn't. But either way, I think it's going to be a pretty dominant match on Devon's side. I think when Genadi is at his best, he can pull with anyone. I think he's another guy who even has a shot at maybe beating Levon one day, or has the potential to at least. But I think he's far off his best. So yeah, definitely going to give it to Devon. But yeah, that does it for East vs. West 16. Let me know who you guys got down below. If you think I'm way off about something, or if you agree with me, also let me know down below, and I will catch you guys next time.